Good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Kiko's Freethinkers Forum. This is episode 96. I present to you a very special guest. His name is Lobo, and we're going to be talking about quite a bit around the sports entertainment industry. Lobo has a very unique YouTube channel, and I'm going to link all of that information to the episode description. Again, this is going to set up to be an unbelievable episode 96. Believe it or not, we're almost at the finish line, people. Almost at 100 episodes, the middle of February, and the goal is to get 20,000 subs at the end of 2024. I believe we can do it, and I'm just really excited to be talking with Lobo today, this evening on Saturday. I want to say welcome to the show and thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, and I appreciate you for having me on the show.
Yes, no doubt. And I don't know if Lobo has watched any of our content before. We talk about culture, politics. That's the way I market it. But this is a free thinkers forum, so you can say what you want to say. You don't have to worry about censoring yourself. But this is free reign. I mean, just like you pretend like you're with your friends or anything. That's kind of how we do it. I like to do it based on the guest. It's all about the guest, and you're going to bring some unbelievable insight, I think, to my audience. And I just want to say briefly before we start that we have an international audience. We have 45% of our audience located outside of the United States. That was always the purpose to make this an international community forum. The international community is not unfamiliar with sports rigging and sports fixing themselves. That happens all over the world. It's not just the United States. So I think this is going to be quite a bit of information thrown at people. Maybe some of the political heads may not feel it, but it's all tied into politics and the music industry too. As Lobo says a lot on this channel, is not something that's caught in a vacuum. I guess my question for you would be, um, what is your YouTube channel about for my audience? For people who may not know about your YouTube channel, can you tell them kind of why you started it and what is it about?
So my YouTube channel is mostly about, say, things that are so-called conspiracy theories, things that go on in the entertainment industry, whether it be on the music industry side of things, Hollywood with acting, and of course, the rigging and scripting of sports as well. So that's kind of the main crux of it. But when I started, it was actually me doing like skits and making beats and stuff like that. And I said I had so much that I wanted to talk about that I wasn't talking about. And I just said, you know what? Let's just go full steam ahead with that and just get all the ideas out there.
So when do you make it almost like strictly towards sports? Do you remember in that process when that happened?
Where it shifted, I would say the 2019. I think it was the 2021 NFL season where
Okay,
it started.
I think that's is important. So our channels aren't as different as they seem on the surface because some people would call my stuff conspiratorial when it comes to politics or whatever, talking about deep state, new world order, that type of stuff. So people are they're familiar with those terminologies and stuff, but we're just extending it into the sports world. But when do you first become skeptical of sports in the United States or just in general? When did you first become a skeptic?
It started getting skeptical. Growing up watching Tom Brady and the Patriots always find a way to win a Super Bowl in ways that never made sense. They would get caught cheating, and
The
they would still end
Cheatriots.
up winning. And it's like something ain't right there. And then in college football, growing up a Tennessee Vols fan my whole life, when they got Nick Saban, Alabama every year just seemed to benefit somehow a little bit more than everybody else.
Yeah, that's I'm so glad he's retired, by the way. I don't wanna hate, I don't want to shit on the man, but I just that was just news to my ears once he retired. But I think it's convenient too with Nick Saban. Don't you think it's odd that they're ending this bullshit 14 playoff right when he's retiring? Don't you think that's a little strange?
Yeah, it is. Like right then and there, Michigan finally broke through and won one, and now it's gonna be the wild, wild west per se for the playoffs.
And what is it now? It's going to be a 12 team format or 8 teams? How many teams did they decide on? Do you know?
12 teams.
12. Okay. Yeah, that's and they're doing the same thing in football too, the real football, not the fake football. I tell people soccer. And people always I always mess with my students when I tell them about the fake football and real football. But in soccer, they're doing that. They're extending the World Cup from 32 teams to 48 teams. So in 2026, the World Cup in a few years, there's going to be 48 teams. And
They
again,
just really want America in there so bad because of who's hosting it.
you got way more money to be made, more games. I mean, just that's a big jump from 32 to 48. And even this from 4 to 12 is a pretty big jump.
Yeah, it is. As far as how it would affect college football, you got to think about the fact that players are already sitting out, opting out because they're trying to go to the league or transfer. And if you add 12 playoff games, what's going to happen to the other bowl games that those would have been? Like that's the ripple effect of what's going to happen.
Can they just rename them? Can they just add the tournament games and call them the Rose Bowl and the Orange Bowl? Can't they just do that?
That's what I was thinking would make sense. But then since it's like an elimination bracket, I guess it'd be different. And from what I've read, they're saying that the first, I think, two rounds will be like home games. Like so someone's higher seed gets to actually host the game. So it
Okay,
didn't
so
have to dry.
since we're on this a little bit, and we will be probably all over the place, as far as college is concerned, how much do you think that this is going to have implications on these so-called non-Power Five conferences and teams? Do you see a team like that breaking through with this new 12-team format for the playoff? Would this give them a better chance? Would there be 12 slots as opposed to having four with the Alabama Invitational every year?
I think that's funny you call it that. But yeah, I think that as far as breaking through, they'll have a chance to show up. I don't think they'll actually ever truly break through to win one. It was just really at the end of the day just to make everybody happy and say, hey, look, these teams that felt like they were being snubbed, you at least get a chance to be in the playoffs. And if you lose, that's on you at this point. That's kind of what they're going for.
I believe people felt that that 2014 TCU team had a chance to break through, and I believe they had that team that blew out Arkansas. I believe in the ball game. And a lot of people felt like TCU should have been in the playoff, and they were basically like, "No, let's put them against Arkansas." They beat the shit out of Arkansas, I think, but a lot of people felt like that would have been one of the first times for a team like that to break through. And then you had those old Boise State teams. It's not like you haven't had teams that have come close to making it. It's just that maybe it's just a branding thing because we know the NCAA is all about making the money, and certain brands get elevated over other ones. Even Michigan, as much as they've kind of choked over the years and they finally got over the finish line, they're still a big name team. People know who Michigan is, the Big Blue. Even sorry as Tennessee, the Big Orange. I mean, I, I'm a Tennessee. Hey, I mean, I can do that because I'm a Tennessee alum, so I can talk all this shit. I know you're
Okay,
an alum
cool,
too,
cool.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
okay.
so we're
I was
both
about to say,
alums. So
what?
it bounces out there like, damn, why is he shitting on his own school? But it's like, hey, when you get a lot of debt, you shit on something too, right?
Yeah, you ain't
And
lying
I'm an
about that.
educator, so it's like I don't believe that I should be paying anything back, because I've been given, my whole life as far as public service and educating the people. But I didn't come on here to mess with the UT balls and stuff like that. But I don't know when they're ever going to be relevant again, personally. Maybe this will make teams like UT more relevant because I feel like they're a team that definitely brings in a lot of money, and it seems like the sports are so regionalized now. But that's kind of a question I've had with the SEC being so emphasized in college football. What is this thing about the Pac-12 dissolving? How does that affect these conferences going forward? So what does that mean? What conference do they go to? Teams like Oregon and Washington. Do they just become in a bigger conference? Like what happens?
So basically, well, ESPN played a role in the Pac-12 disbanding and everything too. 'Cause, TV deals are a big deal as well, and the market that the Pac-12 was in, that late 10 p.m. time slot, that's not a good time slot for people to be watching football and stuff like that, especially on the weekend. Not a good move. But a lot of the teams either went to the Big Ten, a couple went to the ACC, which sounds crazy out loud, and then the Big 12. So like Cal and Stanford went to the ACC, even though they're on the Pacific Coast.
That is insane.
Yeah.
And is this across the board for all sports, or is this just college football exclusive?
No, this is across the board.
Wow, that's insane with travel and stuff. I mean,
Yeah, just think you had like say you have like a Tuesday night basketball game, Cal versus Duke, and they have to travel all the way to Durham and all the way back.
mhm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward, even with March Madness, because if I'm not mistaken, their contract is about to end soon. I don't know if they've renewed it or not, the TV contract, because CBS and their parent um stations have been taking up kind of the load the ESPN did have when it came to the tournament. So I don't know. This may be one of the last years that CBS has the NCAA basketball tournament, unless they've re-signed the deal that I don't know about. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't heard of any new deal. I just know as of right now they have what TNT, TBS, True TV, all of those
Hmm.
Ted Turner owned companies covering it.
And as far as college is concerned, we're going to kind of get into this whole idea of what the audience may be curious about, with your thought process as far as your skepticism, your initial skepticism. I've been a skeptic for a while. Um, I think that gambling plays a big part into this. I see it almost as just like a legalized mafia now, because I was watching a pod where a mafioso was basically saying that most of the sports books derive from the mafia. How much truth do you think that there is to that? Do you see sports now as just a legalized version of the mafia, with the gambling companies being partners with the leagues themselves now?
Yeah, I do. And yeah, it's been going on a long time. Like there are scandals in college basketball going way back about point shaving and stuff that tied in with the mob, especially the Big East. You've had scandals in college football for things like this in the past, scandals in the NFL about this in the past, about gambling in the mob. And even now you still see news breaking of certain NFL players getting caught for placing bets and stuff, and they're just fall guys. They're not the only ones doing it. So that's always been a thing. Like think about college basketball, what the spread is of a game, and then at the losing team just so happens to hit a three that was meaningless to the blind eye, but then you look at the over under or whatever, and it's like, oh, okay, you just hit the over with that one. I got it. Or you just covered the spread with that
I interviewed Brian Chewy both times. I've interviewed him twice, and I'll probably have him back on. But are you familiar with Brian Chewy?
one. Yeah, the one who wrote the fixes in. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, he came on the show twice, but he didn't seem to want to go down that rabbit hole when it came to. But I was explaining to him there was just like a game. I believe it was like the Mavericks and the Lakers, and this could have been last year. I believe this was last year. And I was telling him how the spread was like 232.5, like the total amount of points. And
Hmm.
then Luca missed like a free throw or some shit at the end, and it landed right at 232 or something. And this happens like so often in the league. I mean, if you look at the spreads, there'd be a high ass point total like 236 points, or there'd be a low total like 199.5 or 201.5. But how did they get so close within the margin of error? They just can't be simply a coincidence, right?
Oh no, I don't believe in coincidences at all. Like with something like that, there are players that know what the spread is. There's coaches that know whether it be any NBA, whether it be college basketball, whether it be NFL. Like what was it? The Rams, Sean McVay ended up kicking a field goal to cover the spread earlier this year. Like they know.
Yeah, man. I believe there's a Chargers game. Do you remember that game? I believe it was the Chargers playing the Raiders last year. It was Ben Roethlisberger's last year, and they kept emphasizing, like the commentators are all in on this shit too. Like they were saying, like if these two teams tie, they're going to get in, and Big Ben and the Steelers won't make the playoffs for his last year. They kept on. They said it like three times during the telecast, and then there was one play like before the half, and the Chargers were on their own side of the 50, like they're on the 21-yard line, and they went for them fourth down. Like this kind of shit's going on like more and more often. And I'm like, are the teams doing this kind of stuff? Like, they just can't be bad coaching. Like, this absolutely eye opening to know that common sense tells you don't go for them fourth and 10 on your own side of the ball in a tie game. But you see this stuff happening more and more, like the Cowboys and the Lions. Then the Lions go for two twice. Like, they got it right the first time, and then the ref said that it didn't count. And so they go for two again instead of just going into overtime. Like, why is this stuff happening so often now?
It's to create suspense because at the end of the day, these are all forms of sports entertainment, just like WWE. So they have to make sure that it goes as far down to the wire as humanly possible. So it keeps you hooked in as a viewer. It keeps you constantly putting in live bets for who's going to win, who's going to lose. That's why I say the Detroit Lions, we talking about them, the way they was up 24-7 against the Niners, you see everybody live betting like, oh, the Lions got this, putting money on them. At halftime, there's a FanDuel promo, which anytime there is a betting promo for a certain team to put money on, they're about to lose. Anytime it's like, put a little money on so and so for this parlay and get this much in bonus cash. Oh, they are in to lose. And look what happened. They went for it in situations they shouldn't have. They didn't take the points, started fumbling all of a sudden, forgot how to play football. The best way to win.
It's funny that you brought up the Lions and 49ers because I knew at halftime I was at the bar with a friend and I was like, this team's going to come back and win. He just doesn't know anything about sports at all. And I was telling him, just watch whatever. This team is going to go to the Super Bowl over this team, even though they have 17 points. And he said, Kiko, you really think so? I was like, well, just look at the teams. I mean, but I have to give the Leafs a lot of credit. They had a lot of storylines that they could have gone with. They could have gone with the Michigan angle since Harbaugh won, like their brothers. You have a brother in the NFL already with the Ravens, and then you have Jim Harbaugh. And he's not even with the Michigan Wolverines anymore, is he?
Nah, he's with the Chargers now.
Who does that though? Like I've seen this more and more. It's like you win and then you go to another location. Like Kawhi, he wins the first ever championship with the Raptors, and then he bounces the next year. Like what the
I
hell
mean,
goes into that stuff?
with Kawhi's, it was known that he wanted to go to LA anyway during the season. That wasn't anything new. So that was expected. That's why they had to throw all these perks at him. So he'd be like, please stay in Toronto. Free food for life. I wouldn't turn that down. But hey, if you like California that much, hey, I hope
Oh,
you enjoy it.
I guess that makes sense. That makes sense. But the Lions, like the whole Lions storyline was interesting because they were pretty legit the whole year. But it's like you always get to feel as a true fan, you're like, these fuckers are gonna choke eventually, right? You know, they're not gonna go all
Exactly.
the distance. And then they damn if they don't make it to the championship game, the NFC championship game. But the 49ers, you know, they're there. And I had told somebody that my wife works with that it was going to be 49ers and Chiefs a long time back. I mean, you got the Travis Kelce storyline with Taylor Swift. I mean, I don't even know if they're an actual couple. Like, I hate to say stuff like that, but are they just there for the cameras or what? Because I don't
That's
know.
how I feel.
What's your thing? What do you believe about this? All of a sudden, she's in the limelight with the Chiefs.
It's it's just like everything just so happened to line up for that whole relationship way too perfectly. It comes off way too forced. Like they have to show her every single time after a touchdown. In between, the commentators have to say, "What does Taylor Swift think about it?" Who cares what Taylor Swift thinks about it? She's there watching the game like everybody else. But they know that she has such a huge female fan base that they get a lot of eyeballs on the NFL product. They get a lot of people to buy the Swifty 87 Chiefs jersey. What she done regenerated $331.5 million already. So there's that. And on top of that, they have all these commercials. And what demographic buys the most stuff? Men or women? Women.
Mm, very interesting. And I know they tried this stuff with America's team, the Cowboys, with the Jessica Simpson, Tony Romo back in the day. They had
Mm-hmm.
that going on, but that seemed to have the reverse effect or whatever. They're like, damn, they're going to lose today because Jessica Simpson's at the game. And so now Travis Kelce, you got a whole different dynamic with the Swifties. Seems like she's bringing a lot of good karma to that team, man. I just I've heard you, I've followed your channel for a while, but I always thought that Mahomes, he's like the new Brady. They're basically making him the face of the Brady. You know, he's biracial. You know, you bring in different audiences. He's this golden boy figure, and I just it seems like he's a part of this equation. Um, he's been in the Super Bowl pretty much every year since 18, I think. Like they've always been right there at the door, either winning it or being in the game itself. Um, how much do you think that these players know about, I guess, the game outcomes? I mean, now this is pretty conspiratorial stuff that I'm saying and asking of you, but do you believe that players have prior knowledge of results, like before these games finish?
Definitely. You can see it in the body language before the game, during the game. Like the Super Bowl tomorrow, whenever they show the teams running out, pay attention to the body language. One team typically is going to be more, have more of a pep in their step. They're going to be smiling and laughing and kikiing on the sideline. Other teams going to look like they don't really want to be there. Like last year, Jalen Hurts walked out with his head down, walking slow. Nick Sirianni is crying during the national anthem. That's not a emotionally touching song. That's normal. And then you can look at who's another one? When the Bengals and Rams played, Joe Burrow looked like he didn't want to be there when he was running out there, but the Rams clearly looked like they was ready to play. So that'll give it away for sure. And you can tell Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, who's another bad actor? Patrick Mahomes. Their facial expressions are probably three of the easiest to tell when they're about to lose a game.
And where is the Super Bowl this year? Do you know? I haven't even really paid attention to it.
Las Vegas.
Oh wow, how convenient, huh?
Exactly.
And then we know who won last year. The Chiefs won last year. Before that, the Rams won.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then the Rams and the Bucks were really interesting because we know that coincided with COVID. And how convenient that both teams won in their own home stadium. Like, what's the chances of that happening, people? Like, put on your thinking caps a little bit. This is a free thinkers forum. Just a slight ad. You can't unthink free thought, by the way. And I don't want a dime of yours. I just want you a little bit of time to spend with us to expand your mind. Again, we don't want a dime of yours at all. But simply give us a sub, for free. Kiko's Free Thinkers Forum. We're growing more each and every day. But I want to get back to the topic at hand and say that the two teams that won on the cusp of COVID, the Bucks and the Rams, win in their home stadium. When previous to that, that had never happened before. And then all of a sudden, people don't have to travel. They can simply just be there at the stadium. Why don't people think that that's a possibility when you tell people that stuff? They're like, oh, you're trying to confuse that with WWE. People would make those comments like you're trying to confuse this with a fake sport. And I'm like, a fake sport? Like, is that fake? When people get hurt? But I don't know. I guess how much convincing does it take, Lobo, to get people to finally see what we see?
It's funny. It's like a cycle every year of like the way people think. There's a lot more pushback during the regular season whenever you say it's scripted or rigged or whatever. But come playoff time, when all of a sudden your favorite team is losing the game or is up 24-7 and blows the lead magically and loses, then all of a sudden you start thinking, hold up, something isn't right because it's on a bigger stage, it's more magnified. So I would
Mm.
say it takes the Super Bowl to open more or a portion of more people's eyes.
Um, is there a sport, in your opinion, where the fixing, we'll call it fixing, I guess, for people who they don't want to hear just straight out rigged? I mean, I don't know what the difference is, honestly. I mean, regardless, somebody's benefiting from the controlled mechanism of the game. I guess that would be the best way I would present it as. The games are definitely controlled. I played sports before, and the athletes don't seem like they're trying as hard. They seem like on certain plays they try hard, and you really see the athleticism. But then on other plays, it's like, how can a superstar athlete allow someone to catch the ball that easily, or just whatever? Just some of these crazy plays that we see. Um, I would tell people that it's controlled but for sure. I don't know how much you could guide a person that's not feeling what you're telling them, but I would say that it's at least controlled. And the game seems way more slow with the stoppages. It seems like there's always a flag every other play,
Hmm.
and I don't know what it's going to take. But sports is also escapism. You got so much shit going on in the world, and people look at sports as like, okay, I can at least drink a beer and watch a game, and I don't have to worry about all the lunacy around the world or just my personal life, my marriage, whatever, my relationships. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what sports represents for people, and maybe they don't care that the games are fixed or rigged.
Yeah, I would say that it's part of what you said because it's definitely something you can escape from. It also brings people together. It gives like a sense of community. Like we're all fans of such and such team. So even though you might say you might have a totally different political view on things, but we can at least agree on this right here that we like this team beating that team. So we can come together and cheer that team on. But it's also the amount of emotional investment that's built up over the years. Like you grew up a such and such sports fan that you don't want to accept the fact that you've been fed a lie your whole life, because then it creates this what cognitive dissonance in your head. It's like there's no way that all these players would do this or do that. They've worked way too hard to get to the NFL, to the NBA, to all of a sudden just not try. But people forget they're getting paid millions of dollars to do this.
Yes. I tell you, I had a question. Maybe it'll come back to me after I ask this question. But my son is a big Lamar Jackson fan, and this kind of goes back to the Mahomes thing. I mean, I think they're the only black MVPs that were quarterbacks in history, or is that wrong?
No, no, you got Cam Newton, Steve McNair,
Oh,
RP.
really? They weren't MVPs?
Yeah, Steve McNair's was co-MVP with Peyton Manning. We kind of
Okay.
know why he was co-MVP, but yeah, there's other ones.
Okay, I didn't know that. I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm glad that you clarified that. Yeah, I thought that they were the only ones, but I guess in recent history, if we say recent within the last 10 years, like they're kind of the new faces of the league. But no, I didn't know that Cam had won one too. Damn, I really haven't been following the league. I didn't know that. I remember when they played, was that the year that they lost to the Broncos?
Yeah,
They
that was.
lost to the Broncos?
Yeah, where he didn't pick up the fumble.
Yeah.
He kind of wanted to reach and he did. Yeah, that one.
But so I tell my son, man, Lamar's not gonna make it, man. I mean, I know that the Ravens are the number one seed, but they're gonna lose, man. And he's just like, whatever, dad. And so as soon as it happens, he's like, I'm not watching this anymore. I'm tired of watching this. I don't mean to like spoil and like ruin the parade and stuff, but it just looks too it looks like with Lamar, people like him, you feel like he's got the talent to win it all and stuff. But it's almost like he's playing a role within this whole scheme, and Mahomes is always the beneficiary, and Lamar is just this guy. He's there, but it's like they're enticing him. It's like he can't get over the hump for some reason. Do you think he's ever going to get over the hump? And do you think that there's a bigger storyline involved with that?
I don't think he'll ever truly get over the hump. Partial. Well, there's a lot of factors as to why with Lamar Jackson. One
Why
is
is
the
that?
fact they don't like the way he looks. They don't like the dark skinned quarterback with the braids. They know that a lot of black people like Lamar Jackson. They like Jalen Hurts, players like that. They don't really
Mm-hmm.
rock with Patrick Mahomes the same way. And on top of that, he doesn't have an NFL agent, so it's harder to control and get a hold of him when they need to. So that in itself is a liability. So that's part of it, and they don't want to. The media is putting way too much time and effort as to shitting on Lamar Jackson his whole career, even when he was entering the league.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to have to backpedal all the stuff they done said, because it's like, oh, you can't win the big game even though you're a two-time MVP or you did this or that.
Mm. I never even thought about the sports agent component to that. You said that makes him harder to control because he doesn't have an agent.
Yes, they don't have someone to rein him in from, say, certain people he might be friends with or certain things he might do off or be involved with outside of the football field.
Okay. And as far as the numerology stuff is concerned, like that, I haven't seen this explosion. I don't really follow them much, but I believe that there may be something to it. I don't have the kind of brain space to go into those avenues and try to dissect like sporting events and stuff like that because this is more so like a cultural forum, political forum. Because I'm a professor, like that's what I really do on the side now. Like I'm not even in academia right now for different reasons. A lot of them are political reasons. But as far as the numerology component, do you think that there is significance to it when we talk about sports? And if so, how much do you factor in numerology when you think about games and the outcomes? You
Yeah,
personally.
it does. It does factor in, And yeah, it's a rabbit hole in and of itself how deep that number stuff goes. But yes, it's something that I do think about, but I don't try to just only focus on solely the numbers because, like I've mentioned before, there are numbers that work for both teams in a certain outcome. So if they ever need to flip the script, the numbers would always line up for whichever team won. So regardless, you know.
When you say flip the script, you hear that a lot. The commentators themselves would use the word script a lot, like just throughout the course of a season. You hear this word script a lot. What does that mean to you when you hear it flip the script? Like if you're describing this to somebody that doesn't follow sports.
All right, I'm gonna say the way that the announcers use flip the script and the way that we in this community use flip the script are totally different. So when the announcer says, they're kind of like trolling people when they say flip the script, like use Detroit Lions Niners game to the Niners flipped the script on the Lions to come back. As in, it was already scripted for the Niners to win the game, but they flipped the script so
Mm.
they come back and win, if that makes sense. Versus if we say it, when we say flip the script, it was so and so was already picked to win this game prior to, but they might have seen that too many people bet on the team that they wanted to win, so they said, we can't have that. Switch it, have the other team win.
Guys, see, that's crazy, man. I feel like it's harder for these people to kind of because this is the thing about it. If you don't bet, if you're not interested in that, you really don't care. I feel like that's a different mindset if you're watching like a spectacle, even if people come to the conclusion that it's sports entertainment. Like I like WWE, I watch it a lot because my kids like it. They love watching like the wrestlers and they respect. I mean, they're athletic people. Anyone can just go into a ring and do the stuff that they do. I mean, it's a
Facts.
sport. Whether it's already planned as far as who's going to win the match or not, it takes a lot of athleticism to do what they do and to put on the entertainment aspect, they have different characters and stuff. But as far as the storyline aspect itself, I don't understand why that mindset, maybe the gambling mindset is different from someone who's like not gambling at all because they're like, okay, why do I care? I don't gamble. I'm not betting on the game. I'm just watching the game. Versus someone who they're basically putting money into something and each play has a ramification on what they feel towards the game. Like, are they watching the game because they're betting on the game and they have money into it, or they're betting on the game? It's just weird that mindset because I've talked to people like this and they say they don't care about the gambling aspect of it. But so maybe they don't see the point shaving the same way as people who are actually betting on the games.
Yeah, that's because the person who's betting on the game has money to lose versus someone who's not betting. So they just watching it for entertainment purposes, or it's their favorite team or something.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So there's obviously something to it with the gambling aspect of it. Um, Something that we haven't touched on, but that I know you have, and you've shown videos on your channel with the inflated footballs, the sticky gloves, the magnetic field manipulation stuff. Can you tell the audience a little bit about how true that stuff is? Because you've shown the videos, you can't fake the video. The video is there, where people the field goals are just like falling short, or the ball curves like completely at the last second and goes in.
Hmm.
You really believe that there's some kind of a magnetic field manipulation and all these different tactics used?
Yeah, definitely. The NFL's already mentioned that they put a chip in. Well, their excuse is they put a chip in the ball to keep up with all those next gen stats and keep track of how fast the player is running and all these little meaningless stats during the game. That's not the only thing they're using it for. It's obviously to manipulate the outcome, whether it be field goals like the Buffalo Bills game. It just hooked to the right at the last second, and that's been the narrative their whole
Oh yeah.
franchise is down wide right. So there's that, and then with the gloves too, you see the Odell Beckham catch. He caught it with 3 fingers,
Yeah.
2 fingers. Like I get it, he's got big hands, he's got strong fingers, but the amount of force that you're going with and that you're hitting the ground, it would have jolted the ball loose. Why did he still manage to hold on to it?
Yeah, and the most blatant example that I've seen, was the Saquon Barkley catch. I
Oh, I
don't know
remember
what
that
game
screen
that was.
pass.
I don't know what game there was, but I was just like, what in the fuck is that? Like he had like one fucking finger, it seemed like. How the fuck did he catch the
Yeah, I was like, what? And then Fox
glove? The
on
glove
and
caught the
didn't even
ball.
try to show it. They tried to speed right past that. Like, hold on now.
Like, damn, the glove caught the ball. It seemed like damn, that's a strong glove. Like, good catch,
Yeah.
glove. It's just no, that to me, that's pretty obvious that that's something on the football or on the gloves themselves. Like, I don't even know how they're allowed to catch gloves, like use the gloves in the first place like that. Um, is there a
I'd say
company?
it's
Did
really
the
good
league give those
marketing.
gloves, or are these people using their own gloves?
So they have so the players can get their own custom type of gloves and stuff like that, but they still got to be approved by the league because the league is like really strict about every little thing. Like you get fined for your socks. Like they have a person specifically on the field looking around while they're warming up and stuff to see if they got cleats or socks or armbands that pass certain, specifications of the dress code for the game, and then they'll write a note and know that player's about to get fined for that. So yeah, they have to actually go through a process.
Oh, kind of like how the WWE goes through a process before the match when they check the bottom of the boots and stuff.
Yeah. Check your equipment and stuff.
I just think it's funny how many parallels there are between the WWE and these other leagues and shit. The WWE is on ESPN's website, like it's on there like a legitimate sport. Like you can go in there and see what happened during the matches and stuff. Like it's been like that for a while. They interviewed
I
the
didn't know that. I didn't know that the ESPN added a WWE tab to that thing. That is
Oh yeah, it's been on there for a
crazy.
while. Yes, no doubt. I forgot exactly when it happened, but they'll come on the show like Roman Reigns will come on into the studio, Triple H, because their studios are both located in Connecticut. ESPN
That's
and
true.
WWE are both located there all together. So I don't know that's really interesting to me. It's like, damn, they're both located in Stamford, Connecticut. Like, what's the chances of that happening?
Yeah, you couldn't script it any better.
Now, this is some pretty wild stuff here. I'm going to share with the audience. I want to ask you though beforehand. You may already have experience with this. Do you know a professional athlete that's active right now?
Active right now, I mean, there's ones that I've interacted with and stuff that went to UT, but I don't keep in contact with them or anything like that.
I asked that question because I can't obviously bring this person's name into this, but there's an undisclosed player that we're really close to. Like my brother plays basketball with this person every summer. They come up, we play every summer. Active NBA player. This NBA player, I'm going to read the text that I just got or whatever. Again, I won't bring up any names or anything, but he said that this undisclosed friend in the NBA knows how many games this team is supposed to win each season and everything. And according to my brother, this friend talks about objective sheets that they use during the games. So as far as how many rebounds, how many points, how many assists that they give you incentive to reach, like this is given to each player like before the game. And a lot of times it's given to players who aren't the stars. They're given to like role players and bench players. And so I thought that was just some crazy insight. And apparently he can't say a lot of stuff either. And I want to maybe get your opinion on that about these non-disclosure agreements or whatever. Like, what goes into the non-disclosure agreements with some of these players?
Basically, it's to keep them from blabbing and going into full-fledged details about how they rig and how they script the games. Because it's one thing to just leave it as general as Vegas can pick who wins a game or something like that, versus if they win and he's like, okay, so there's magnets in the gloves, there's magnets in the football, they're altering field goal. That'd be just too much for the masses at one time too. And then the NFL would be under a huge amount of fire for that even making it out there.
Mm. Um. So why do you think? So you kind of gave the reasons why you think they have to sign these clauses. Is this a confirmed fact that they have to sign some kind of a clause? Is it in their contract?
Yeah, Benning Cunningham, He's one of them back in the day when he was playing for the Bears. Because I know he played at Vanderbilt. He mentioned that the NFL was scripted and all this stuff. But he said, but I can't talk about it too much because they make us sign something. They get NDA about it.
Is this the same thing that they signed in the music industry? Is it similar?
Similar.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we want to go into that realm or not, but there are definitely some things that go on with the music industry. When we talk about contracts and stuff, I still haven't really looked into it much with the whole Offset, the death of who died. Takeoff
Take
died.
off.
But they're related though. They're all related. The Migos are.
Yeah. They're all cousins. Or
Was it?
Takeoff was the nephew of Quavo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything else of that? It's just kind of like it seems like these things happen and they just turn the page. It's like, oh, Twitch, he committed suicide, turn the page. This happened to Takeoff, just turn the page. It seems like they make it so casual when they die. It's like there may be 3 days of like heavy attention on it, and then it just like it goes away just like that.
I mean, it's because we're in this day and age where there's so much information that we can get from any given website, blog, social media that is just rapid fire with anything that can keep you stimulated and keep you hooked in the matrix, for lack of a better term, for an extended period of time. And especially with rappers dying or celebrities, but mainly rappers. Listen to the music. What are they talking about? Spin the block on people. Everybody apparently got a Draco. Everybody has this type of gun. Everybody will rob you. Everybody will do this to a op. So when this is normalized and when rappers die, people aren't gonna, put really two and two together in a smart way. They're just gonna think, oh, it's just he's a rapper. That's just part of it. Like,
Oh wow.
no.
Mm. That's unfortunate, man, that people think like that. Um, it's just yeah, because young Dolph, I know my brother was hurt bad when Dolph when that happened to him, and it's rap is pretty much tied to the sports industry though. I mean, I think it almost every like big game now you will see like a rap star like on the court side, and it's like the cameras try to pick up on that like immediately. Like I remember when Luca when he had this 73-point game. I mean, who was there? Lil Boozy. He was right there. Just the cameras just kept pointing at Lil Boozy the whole game, and I'm just
Hmm.
like, why? Like they just I guess it's just a visual thing. I don't know what goes into all that, but it's just it's interesting how everything is kind of set up. I mean, everyone knows each other, so it makes it easier to capture, I guess, because everyone hangs out with the same groups now. It doesn't even matter. Like tennis players are hanging out with rappers, tennis players are hanging out with basketball players. Everyone knows each other now. It's just a big circle.
I mean, yes, that, and then you gotta think about the saying, was it? Athletes want to be rappers and rappers want to be athletes.
Oh yeah, that's a good
So
way to
that's why
look
you
at
see these NBA players that like to rap in their free time and make beats and do whatever. And then that's why you see all these rappers. They got these basketball leagues for rappers and stuff now that YouTube got a whole thing about. So I guess both parties get satisfied in a way for what they want to truly want to do.
it. With regards to rigging, question from the audience: do they rig college games as much as they do professional games?
Yes. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I mean, think about Tennessee alum. Think about a lot of those heartbreakingly close Tennessee games, and it was always something weird that never made sense as to how Tennessee would find a way to lose those games. If there's think about all, I could go down the list of every close Tennessee game for probably for the last 15 plus years,
Really?
and it's just something weird. Every single game, it wasn't unless they just got blown out. It was never anything just normal.
Are there three that stick out to you? I'm curious about this because, like I said, my son is like a diehard UT fan. I couldn't care less about UT sports at all.
I'll use one that is, yeah, kind of recent. So, when Tennessee played Ole Miss a couple years ago, back in Neyland, Joe Milton was the quarterback on the last play. There was 3 seconds left. They were on, I think they was in the red zone. needed to score. Clear situation. Hey, pass the ball into the end zone to try to score. Joe Milton, mind you, they called a timeout before the ball was snapped. So you can look at the clock and see how much time is left. You can look at the score and see how much time is left. And you can't tell me a coach didn't tell him, hey, we have 3 seconds left in the score, such and such. We need to do this. He doesn't even try to throw the ball. Instead, he tries to run from the 20 to, I guess, try to run for a touchdown, but only gain like 7 yards. Why would you do that if you know you need to throw it in the end zone to try to score?
And you know when you break the line of scrimmage, you can't throw the ball, you can't advance it, you have to run at that point.
Exactly. And he ran clean out of bounds. He wasn't even trying to truck anybody, juke anybody, just ran straight out of bounds.
That's so sad, man. And see, that's why I don't have any interest in it, man. I mean, it is entertaining. I give them that. But it's just sad to see that kind of stuff. Because I tell you, a team that I can't stand is the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I know that this was like a couple of years back when Tank Bigsby.
Mm-hmm.
This fucker, like seriously, like they had the game won. And instead of this motherfucker like falling down in bounds, he runs fucking out of bounds. And he adds just enough time on the clock. And Bryce Young and his team goes down and they throw the touchdown at the end. And I'm just saying, this is just the biggest pile of shit ever. Like, no, it is. It's just crazy. And then even this year with Alabama, what was the game where it was like,
That's Auburn,
what,
yeah.
fourth and
Isaiah Bond
33?
for the
It's always
touchdown,
against
yeah.
fucking Auburn. It's always the Iron Bowl games. There's the wildest shit happening. Even when they had Nick Marshall, like just the crazy like outcomes and stuff. But what was it like fourth and 33, like fourth and goal on the from the 33-yard line? And I was telling
Yeah.
my son, they're going to score. It's Alabama. Just watch, and magically they scored a touchdown.
Yeah, that was the one game I remember watching that live with my dad, who was a lifelong, like real Alabama fan. Like he knows fake and stuff, but real Alabama fan, not a bandwagoner. And I'm just thinking, Alabama has to play Georgia next week. Surely they just wouldn't have them lose now because that game would be meaningless. And then you see this long fourth down. I'm like, okay, they might almost score, but let's see. And I saw how much time Jalen Milroe had in the pocket. I was like, oh, they only rushed two. Oh yeah, they finna win. And lo and behold, they won.
Are there any other instances with UT? Because this is something that was unbeknownst to me about all these close calls with UT. I know that they made a big deal about when they beat Bama. Um, not this year, I think, but last year.
Yeah.
Manning was at the game, and people were talking about how they hadn't won in what like 18 years, and he wore the number 18 or something. They
I
kept
think 16. I think it was
16 or
16. Yeah,
something.
16. Yeah, 16.
So yeah, they made a big deal about that. Like, oh yeah, UT's going to win, and then he hit the field goal and hit the crossbar and went over. And they lost their stuff. You know, they took the goalposts out of the stadium and stuff. Um, so I guess that was like a good moment for UT, but I don't remember any of those call. But see, I don't follow UT like that. I remember the Hail Mary that who was it?
Dobbs had against Georgia.
Yeah, against Georgia. Who Dobbs? Yeah, I remember that one, but I don't remember these close calls and stuff with UT or whatever. But I'm sure that you're correct in your assessment.
Yeah, I will say the one that really sticks out like a sore thumb that it's because the team Tennessee lost to, it was the first game of the season. This is 2019. And this one is probably gonna go under the radar solely because I don't remember seeing a betting line for this game. Which I thought, that's kind of weird. Usually every game has a betting line, but this one didn't. It was against Georgia State, first game of the year, home game in Neyland. You would think the first game of the year you're gonna be excited, pumped. You know the energy is electric at Neyland Stadium. The team came out flat, like they didn't look like they wanted to be there, and that's Tennessee. All game they showed them during the sideline. They looked defeated, pouty, and they're playing Georgia State, a Sun Belt school who's had a football program for what I think 7 years or something
Mm-hmm.
at the time, and they ended up losing this game to Georgia State, who's getting paid over $1 million to play them, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that the T-shirt that the Georgia State fans had on during that game, it was like it said something like you paid what $1 million for us to beat you in your house or something like that, and it had like Georgia State on there and
Oh,
like
really?
Tennessee's logo or something. And that shirt was made in July of that year. The game wasn't played until September. How was a Sun Belt school whose a football program has been around for 7 years at the time so cocky and confident they're going to be an SEC school that they're making a T-shirt like this and
Okay.
selling it prior to?
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Mm. That's nothing you can say about that when you hear that kind of stuff. It's just like, man, like what a mockery. Um, no, I've never heard of that before. I remember them losing, but that's crazy. And are you looking at like certain sources, like, or are you just researching this stuff as it goes, as the games advance, as they come closer to reality? Like, how are you finding out all this information like that? Are you doing your own research, or do you have like
That
that
one,
you go to?
the Georgia State thing was, I remember watching the game, so there's that assessment of what was going on. But yeah, I didn't learn about the T-shirt thing until I went on one of the Vol Nation forums. I just wanted to see what are the fans saying because I just like to hear what they got to say and stuff. And one of them had a link to that shirt, and I was like, "You don't say!" And I started doing a little digging on that, and it took me to Georgia State's forum where they were selling that T-shirt. So I was like, "Huh, ain't that something?"
A couple more questions before we go, Lobo. I'm just excited, and I'm so curious to see what happens after the Super Bowl and stuff. I mean, I'll save that to the very end. But is there a sport that rigs more than others? Is there a sport that where you think the rigging is more obvious? And we can talk about just U.S. sports specifically.
I say the most obvious is baseball because the pace is so slow and the error sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't know how people don't see it because they'll show the replay like 5 times because they haven't pitched again. So say you got a grounder, professional baseball players should be able to just do this routine stuff. Scoop it up easy, right? Nah, they all of a sudden go an inch too high and it just rolls right under the glove and they don't get it and they miss it. And so steals a base to third. Like, really? What do we do? Or in a back to back where the next play it's a wild pitch and that dude who stole to get to third now all of a sudden can run home and score? I would say baseball is the most obvious. Second would be basketball because even people that might not believe the NFL is scripted or whatever, they can see that the NBA is rigged. Like anybody who's ever followed LeBron James' career can see that they rig it for somebody.
Man, I wouldn't have known that you would have said baseball for the rigging. That's so surprising to me because I was thinking, as far as I'm concerned, to me, football and basketball look the most obvious. But that's crazy. Like baseball, I never even thought about baseball being rigged like that.
I
But
mean, scandals. They got a lot of scandals, and just really the pacing. If it was a faster paced sport, I don't think it would have stuck out as much.
mm, I know that I still don't understand the thing with baseball is that I don't get. They made such a big deal about the steroids era. And everything was about like the Mitchell report and these guys, people are in the Hall of Fame who are on the juice. Like we know that they're juicers who are in the Hall of Fame. So, but then holding that against Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, they're probably going to hold it against Alex Rodriguez. I don't know. He has the pretty blue eyes, the green eyes, so he might get a pass. But I don't know. It's just to me that's crazy the double standard that they made with the steroids era. Like, how do you even prove who was on the juice and who wasn't on the juice? Well, sure, there may be more obvious examples, but how can you just say that these people weren't involved in it too? Like that's what messes with me with baseball.
Yeah, baseball's so weird. And well, for one, with the steroids thing, this is what I've heard. That's something I'd still have to look more into. But it was told to me that the steroids thing was a cover up for the fact they was really trying to crack down on Adderall in baseball, and steroids were just kind of like a fall guy, fall drug, if you will. So that's why. Because think about it, 162 games. Was it 162, 164?
162.
162. Yeah, 162 games. You stand out there sometimes just standing there, not doing anything. You need to you might lose focus a little bit, and the Adderall can help you stay focused. So there's that, and it could improve your hitting too. But the thing about steroids in baseball, I'm mad. I'm kind of mad they took it out because it made it more exciting. If I want to watch a baseball game, I want to see someone crack out 7 home runs in a game. I don't want to see this 2 to 3. I don't care about a no hitter. No, I want to see home runs. So as a response, now they had the juice to baseball. Because I don't know if you've heard of the juice ball theory.
I've never heard of this before. They juice the baseballs?
Yeah, that's been confirmed though. Basically, they just juice the baseball to make it send off the bat more effectively, and it can go farther.
So back in the day, they used to crack down on the cork baseball bats, and so it's almost like they're reversing certain mechanisms, like things that I think this mind control though, man, really messes with you because like who does that? Like the inflating footballs and deflating them and juicing the baseballs, but that makes sense. That they have a baseball that does that or whatever. I mean, we've already said there's entertainment, but so would this be their own company? Do they have a company that we don't know about, or is it a certain company that they're contracting with to produce these kind of specialized products like that?
And that would be the same ones that provide all the other MLB baseballs or how they do for football. It's the same people that work for NFL and the companies that manufacture football. So
So if the ball's like that, what is the bat made of? Like, what are they doing to the bats?
they don't really do anything to the bat. Most they put pine tar on it, but that's legal. So it's
Mm,
really just the ball.
I got you. And the baseball thing is interesting because all the stadiums are different dimensions. Because when you think of sports, 100 yards is 100 yards. You think of a basketball court as 94 feet. But with baseball, you have like the Green Monster here, and then you have the Padre Stadium, like this big ass, like a fucking
Hmm.
like a 2 or 3 football fields long. It seems like, and you have these small stadiums like Wrigley Field, and then you have the Rocky Stadium where the balls just float as soon as you hit the ball, it's a home run. I think baseball is interesting when it comes to that. So you already have mechanisms there, and then certain people call the strike zone differently. So it's already kind of programmed to be like a fucked up sport to begin with. It's not like a normal sport anyway. There's already so much nuance added to baseball. So I guess that makes sense in a way that they would rig baseball like that.
Yeah, and I mean, with when the season is as long as it is, they have no choice. And you're competing in the era, with the social media era, where people just care about highlights. People are not going to sit here and watch a whole baseball game for what 3, 4 hours. No, show me the highlights, show me the home runs, show me the strikeouts, show me the fights. I don't care about the in between. So they have to do something to get eyes there and keep it there in some capacity.
I'm still confused about why they didn't strip the 2016 Astros championship away. Um, Considering like they know that there was a cheat involved, but they got to keep their rings and everything, right?
Yeah, I
And
mean, is why did the Patriots get to keep both of those Super Bowls when they got caught cheating twice?
all the cheaters, yeah, yeah. And then you have like shoeless Joe. But baseball to me is like really like baseball is almost like we're never going to let things go. Like the Black Sox scandal from way back when. I'm like, come on, like these people. I mean, I'm not trying to make a joke, but these people have been dead like a long time. Like it's crazy. Like it's almost overkill at this point. Are they waiting for Pete Rose to die before they reinstate him into baseball? Like you got stuff like that, the hits leader, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. The home run king, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. But yet a team can cheat and get hits and home runs or whatever, and they get to keep their ring. Like I don't understand the double standards in baseball. That's what's really confusing to me.
I feel like they're at a crossroads where they want to stick to like their tradition, but at the same time, some of those things that they stick to and want to stick to as far as views is obsolete. They're at this like crossroads. Like we want to be traditional, but
Hmm.
times have changed and we need to embrace this because the youth don't care about all the other traditional stuff.
A few more questions. Is there a script specifically made for certain games?
Is there what?
Is there a script that's made for certain games?
It's about football?
Sports in general, but especially football and basketball.
Yeah, I mean, if you notice with NFL games, there's a certain pattern with certain games where it'd be one team is up big, say at halftime, to get a lot of live bettors to put money on this team, especially if they were the underdog in that game. And then the second half, what happens? The losing team comes back, and somehow it's a one possession game with 2 minutes to go, and all of a sudden, the game that you was watching before, since that one's over with, we're gonna shift to this game right here, so there's more eyeballs on this one game, and it's the same even flow. Or it could be a game where they want to say they want to hit the over, but get more people to bet on the under during the game. It might start out as a low scoring game in the first half where it looks like no one's scoring anything. Oh, they won't hit the over. Second half, all of a sudden, everybody can score at the snap of a finger.
Mm, yeah, man, this is it's. I guess people will eventually um, just accept it that there is some manipulation. But I believe more people are definitely starting to see it. I tell you what I do now, Lobo. I would go on X, formerly known as Twitter, and I
Mm-hmm.
type in how did they come up with that name X? Will it be double X once X goes away and then triple X after that? But I go in there in the search bar and I type in scripted and rigged, and there's so many people on there talking, like just people who follow sports a little bit, a lot. And it's like, do you see the call, the refs? It always goes back to the refs. People are using the refs as a way, as evidence. Is like, okay, there's definitely something going on. And I think it's funny. We talked over an hour and we haven't mentioned the refs one time. We talked about the overall game, but we haven't talked about the refs whatsoever. Is it just known that they're a part of this?
I'll say basketball, yes. Definitely basketball because they've already had the Donahue scandal, which another fall guy. But yeah, that's what a lot of people automatically assume they think is rigged. It's just the refs. Which of course they definitely play a role when they'll call holding against a team right after they got a big play. They'll ignore certain teams when they clearly are holding on the offensive line or the defense clearly committed a pass interference, Kansas City, but yet they don't get the call. They don't, the refs aren't calling it. Or the Rams and Saints game where it was clear as day it was a pass interference. Dude got laid out, but you see one ref go over there and be like, "Don't throw the flag."
Are
Like
you talking about
that's
the Saints Rams?
yeah.
Okay.
When the referee who was right there who saw it was about to and said, "Nah, I ain't gonna call it." So yeah, the referees play a role, but that's what people they're really the scapegoats too, because people just think, that's it. The players wouldn't do that.
I got two more questions for you, Lobo, and then we got to go. Um, the Chiefs are considered a small market team, right?
Yeah,
I was wondering about that. Why are they always there when they're like a small market team? Kansas City is not that big of a town, um, but they seem to be like a one of the big names now. Um, and I know at one point Green Bay was kind of been made like this. Green Bay is the only, I think, technically publicly owned team in the league.
yeah,
And
that's
Green Bay
true.
is like a small town. But it's like, why are the Chiefs like given so much benefit of the doubt? It seems. Are they like a big brand name now? Can we? Is it safe to say that they're a big brand now?
I'm glad you asked this question. Shout out my homie B Fire. He's the one who brought this to my knowledge last year before the Super Bowl. But why the Chiefs are have had so much success since they got Patrick Mahomes is because the league still has to repay the city of St. Louis for leaving a year early when they moved the Rams from St. Louis to LA. There was a 700 and yeah, it was like over a $700 million settlement. So that's why you see the Chiefs constantly going there because they're in Missouri, so they got to repay them somehow. And who else do they have there? Taylor Swift, who generates a lot of money there too, so that can also help for that. And when you look further, what two NFL teams have made it to the Super Bowl the last, I think, 6 years now. The Chiefs being one of them. And if it's not the Chiefs, the LA Rams. So they had to find a way to repay them. And that's why the Chiefs have had this dynasty for as long as they've had it. And I'll say this, whenever they're finally paid up and that settlement money, that all that's good, you won't see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I know we're all tired of seeing them now, but don't worry. Give it a couple more years and we won't see this for a while.
And do you have a Super Bowl prediction? And if so, how did you come to that conclusion?
As of right now, I'm going to take the Niners. And mainly you look at who is the media pushing harder. Usually go the opposite, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl. If you see when they show like 70% of America pick, say the Chiefs to win, oh, they finna lose. House always wins. They're in Vegas too, ironically. So right now I got the Niners winning that game. The Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce story, and that's too much bait. Because a lot of people are aware they rigged it for the Chiefs to be there. So now guess what everyone's gonna think? Oh, easy. The Chiefs gonna win. And Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, which if I ran the league, I would do that. That's the smartest thing to do, to be honest. But when you factor in gambling, that is the dumbest thing to do. So
Yeah, I've come to that conclusion that the Niners are definitely going to win. And this is also a rematch game.
hmm
And they pretty much have the same base of superstars. I mean, they got the 49ers have a new quarterback. They have this the last pick of the draft, Brock Purdy. We knew he was going to be good in the pros. He was good in college at Iowa State. And you have Kittle on the other side. You got Deebo Samuel. I mean, you have star power. You don't have Jimmy G anymore. You don't have the other guy. Who is it? Trey Lance. He's not there anymore. But you got this new superstar, second year player, Brock Purdy. And then you have on the other side, clearly, everyone except Tyreek. Tyreek is with the Dolphins now. But I mean, you still have, Mahomes and you still got Kelce. So the battle of the quarterback and the tight end, you got everything you need. You got star power. You have everything that you would ever want in a big game or a spectacle like this, the Super Bowl. But that's why I was thinking, too, the 49ers. I say the 49ers will win, blowout or close game.
hmm, I see a lot of people saying blowout. I'm gonna go with a close game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's going to be within a touchdown, without a doubt. Um, But I just wanted to ask you if you have any final words for my audience, Lobo. This has been a wonderful episode 96. I've enjoyed talking to you. We covered a lot of stuff, man. Honestly, I didn't know how it was going to go, but I knew it was going to go all over the place. I knew that much because I had too many questions for it to be just structured. Like a lot of my interviews, when we were talking about the boring politics stuff, and the guests would talk 20, 30 minutes straight. I'm just sitting back, drinking coffee or whatever. But no, this was great. It was very dynamic. But do you have any final words for my audience?
I would say to anybody who is skeptical of the leagues being scripted, rigged, fixed, whatever words you want to use, just know what you're watching. That it's for entertainment. That's the main purpose. If you look at an NFL ticket, it says for entertainment purposes only. They don't say that on college ones, but just be aware of that and the fact that there's so much money invested into these teams, so much money bet on certain teams and players. You have to remember that aspect of things. They're not just going to give out free money. We live in America. I mean, there's that one time they gave away some free money, but they still want it back.
I tell you, Lobo, I've enjoyed again. I'm going to have the pleasure of sharing this with my audience and your audience as well. Episode 96. Make sure all interested friends and family and everyone in the world of the internet and outside of the world of the internet share this interview. Um, it's been wonderful talking to you, my friend, and I can't wait to have a conversation down the road as well.
Oh, definitely. And I appreciate you for having me on here as well.
Beautiful people. Who do we have up next? We have S.L. Kanthan coming on from Bangalore, India. He's a geopolitical analyst. We're going to talk about quite a bit of stuff. Pakistan just had their elections. Taiwan had their elections last month. The U.S. has an election cycle coming up. There's a lot going on in the world. You have the Palestine-Israel stuff going on that's been continuing for years. And so we have just quite a bit to talk about. My dad will be on in a couple of weeks. We have some other political scientists coming on. We have politicians, we have commentators, sports people, musicians. We have all the 9 yards on Kiko's Freethinkers Forum. So again, if you're looking for a forum that gets you to kind of think outside of the box, that's kind of anti-mainstream media, this may be the home for you. And we just want to say support independent media channels as much as possible. Support Lobo's YouTube channel. It's a great resource for people. Lobo puts a lot of time into his YouTube channel. And so I think we need to start support independent media more than ever. We're not asking for any of your money, just a click to subscribe. And there's great content there for you. But I want to say, beautiful people, enjoy the rest of your day and cheers.